guys, it's Miss Sarah from the West Bank Club, and I have got Miss Annie here with me today for one of our Career Week interviews. And I do want to give you a little secret before we get started. This is my sister, so I'm really excited to talk to her too. So Miss Annie, can you explain for everybody what your career and job is and kind of explain what you do?
Yeah, of course. So my job title is Regional Supervisor for On-Site Events at Facebook in New York. What I do is I am a project manager for big company meetings that need audiovisual support. So if lots of people are coming together to talk about new products at Facebook, or if a lot of the very important people in the company need to have a meeting, kind of like this one, my team, which is across most of the East Coast, we're the ones who get it done. So that's audio, like microphones and audio levels and music, and presentations like PowerPoint or movies even that get shared in meetings. Our team is the one who sets up and gets it going, is in the background calling the cues and working with the speakers and having a fun time.
You're what make a lot of these like really big Zoom calls that we've seen, especially recently, what make them look a whole lot cooler than the ones that you just have with your family and friends.
That's true. So now that most of us are at home all the time, these events are being held on Zoom and other like video conferencing platforms. So we're the team that helps with putting overlays, like fun graphics on around everybody. And if people need to be muted, we mute them. Sometimes very important. But having that one person that's kind of in your corner, making everything go smoothly, especially for meetings, that's what we do.
That's especially now really important stuff to do. So kind of bringing it back a little bit. What were your favorite subjects growing up in school? So like elementary school, middle school, high school.
So in elementary school, my favorite subjects were art and science. That changed a little bit when I got into high school. I still loved art and I was in band. And while I liked science, I got more into English and I loved reading. So that was really important to me. By the time I got to college, I actually was a theater production major. So I studied how to build sets and make lighting. I learned all about audio, sound mixing, and even some video production, which was really cool. I acted in a few plays, though I don't do that so much anymore. So mostly in the art ranges, like art fields, is what I got really into.
So you kind of answered my next question a little bit, asking what kind of school did you complete to kind of get in your career path. So you mentioned you went to school for college and did a lot of theater things. Is that what you majored in? And did you do anything after? Like, did you complete a 4-year degree? Did you go to anything else?
I only have a 4-year degree. In my 4-year degree, I studied theater production, and that's mostly all I did. There was core classes for English, science, and math that had to be completed, but everything else that I did was studying how to build stages and paint backgrounds, and some stage management, which that's pretty important. I know where this conversation is going. So learning about stage management was really important for what I learned how to do, and then doing that in classes. So I got a lot of practical experience in college because of my degree.
So would you say what you studied in school really applies to what you're doing now, or would you say that you've gotten more kind of on the job training?
I would say college gave me a good foundation. A lot of what I did after college, I knew how to do when I started, but where I am now, my job now, I learned a lot of through practical experience. Project managing a really large team is kind of different than stage managing a play, but it still applies. I like to think that I'm the through line for that story. It's always been about helping a live experience happen smoothly.
Oh, that's pretty, that it does apply. It sounds like it applies a lot. Is there anything in particular, so with your degree in theater production, is there anything that you wish you had studied that would help you now?
So I wish I had studied a little bit more about business. Um, One of the reasons being is that I spent a lot of time as a freelancer after work, and you have to be your own boss. So you have to go out, you book your schedule, you're working with multiple companies, and managing my time and my money became very, very important. And that was some of the just life learning that I got that I wish I had done more of. And I will say, I wish I'd paid more attention to math. The amount of math I have to do now managing a team, of like how many hours they work and how much they get paid and how many events we do in a year. There's so much math, so many spreadsheets.
Oh, always the spreadsheets.
Mhm.
Um, so can you explain to me when you started working in your current career? So getting out of school, did you go kind of directly into full-time stuff? Did you do, you mentioned freelancing. So how did you kind of get to where you are now?
So I definitely didn't go straight into what I'm doing now. I started off as a freelance technician. So I was working in a bunch of different theaters in New York as a lighting technician or building stages. So I was definitely using my theater degree, but I didn't get, what happened there is that I did a lot of jobs and I wanted a little bit more stability because I was working very long hours. And while it was awesome, I got to work in Central Park, I got to work in a bunch of theaters that I'd heard about, and that was a lot of fun. I'm really glad I did it. But when I wanted to have a 9 to 5, I wanted to be done for the day and be able to have my weekends back. I looked into project management with AV companies because it's the same if you're setting up lighting for a theater show or if you're setting up a lighting for someone's wedding, you still have to know how lighting works, and that applies to audio and video presentations or projectors. All of that's the same technology. And I loved stage management in college. So I knew I would be interested in project management, and I got a job about 6 years ago. So I was a freelancer. I know math hurts sometimes. Um, so I got a full time job as a project manager for an AV company that just picked, it was any jobs we could get at venue spaces that we worked in. So I worked at like the Plaza Hotel, which was really cool. And I actually did a job for Comic Con one year. I know, I was very excited. So I got to have a lot of these varied experiences, but as I got more interested in project management, I wanted to move up in that ladder. I wanted to be able to pick more of the jobs that I did, and I liked having a big team, and I wanted to manage more than just that one day of the job, but how did people get to us, and how was my team treated? So I moved up. My next job was working for a very small company as the director of operations, where I got to see entire jobs from start to finish. I wasn't just on the day of, I was talking to our clients, and I got to build interactive, which is really fun, but interactive displays for pop-up events and pop-up like shops in New York. And after that, I got to this job about 2 years ago. I started this job where I was working on site at Facebook, and now I run an entire team that does all that, where we talk to our partners and our clients from the very start of what they want to do. And we usually work with a lot of the same people over and over for all their events that they do throughout the year.
That's, I mean, it sounds like there was a lot of work, but you knew what you wanted to do and you kept working to it. So what would you say, I mean, you've done a lot of stuff, doing a lot of different things. What would you say the most unexpected part of your career is? Either kind of what you're doing now or what you kind of learned along the way?
As someone who studied art and loved English, and my hobby is drawing things, the I've learned a lot of love for, like I was joking about the math, but I actually love working with data, working with spreadsheets, because I found that I loved building a story from lights and sound and pictures. And now I get to build a story from, like, if I know my team was really busy and I can see how many people the events they did affected, then I can talk about how important my team is. And I get to tell this story of how well my team is doing. But you always have to have data and numbers that support this. So I've gotten very good, and I need to get better. But I want to get better at telling these stories through data. And that means that I've been learning about programming, and I've been doing a lot on. I prefer working off of like Google Sheets, but Excel spreadsheets, all of these different things, because it looks just like numbers and it can feel kind of overwhelming. But when you know what those numbers mean and how they affect people, it got exciting because it's not boring anymore. Now I know what they mean, and I can go into my own meetings and talk about how important my team is and how something will help them if we do this new process, which is what I always wanted to do, is being able to help them and be kind of that manager, but moving my way up so it helps more people.
What would you say, maybe this might be the math that has popped up in your career, but what would you say the hardest part of your career has been?
I'd say the hardest part it's not the math. Fortunately, it's not super complicated. It's not calculus. It's mostly arithmetic, which is fine. You just don't realize how much you have to do. But I'd say the hardest part has been when you're doing live events, people get very stressed. And so I've had to learn a lot about how to manage people who are very nervous and may not be the nicest about it. Good, nice people, but in the moment when they're stressed, you have to be calm. You are someone they don't like. If the internet connection isn't working, if they can't talk to who they're trying to talk to, then the entire event won't work. And when you're the team that fixes that, everyone looks to you, and it's very stressful. So I would say the hardest part has been managing people, managing stress for other people. And how do you listen to someone who might be saying something really silly, like they think that the lights are too bright, and you sit back and you're like, well, the light is the sun, so we can't do much about that.
Can't turn off the sun.
Can't turn off the sun, but we can help you do something else, like get you away from your window, or we can talk you through this experience. But you have to listen. And I wish I could say I was a real good listener, but I've had to learn a lot, and I'm still learning a lot about listening, and hearing what's really the problem, because then we can fix it or we can address it. And I will say I like that, but it has been hard.
Hard to do. Well, now that we talked about the hardest part, what is the best part of your career?
I love being on a team. And I feel very lucky where I am right now. I have a very good team. Everyone I work with, they like what they do. We all love working in audio video. We all are, techies, and get excited about new equipment that comes out, or new, like when Zoom got really popular, everyone got very excited and wanted to test it and see what it could do. So it sounds silly to be around a bunch of people who get excited about things like this, but we all get excited. And I get to be very honest about what works and what doesn't. And there's a lot of trust that gets built there. And it helps that everyone knows, like, we deal with stressful people. So we try to not stress each other out. And there's a lot of looking out for each other if you're having a bad day, or if you need help, you can ask for help very quickly, and everyone, since we all do the same thing, knows how to jump in and help you. So it may sound silly, because of course we're all in the same job, but I talk about how much I like managing people. I love being on a good team. It's so much fun.
I like to think that team started back when we were sisters and sharing the same room. We worked together quite a lot.
We did. It may not have always been effective, because we definitely stomped on the floors a lot more and thought we were being sneaky when we were not. But you're the reason we worked together and got dogs. We had puppies because of you.
Dogs is kids because we work together.
Hmm.
So if someone went up to you, Miss Annie, and said, "Hey, I want to grow up to do what you do," what advice would you give them?
I would say you can get started with what you want to do now. I used to think that I had to be a certain way. I got a theater degree thinking that would be the one thing I would be. Um, but if you think you want to get into AV project management, you can host your own event. You can schedule something up with friends, or you can practice with schoolmates. But you can always learn. There's so much available to us on the internet about these different platforms that you can play with that are free. I I may be a professional, but I'm always still looking for the free stuff too. But there's so much you can do right now, especially now. Like technology is amazing, and you can do a lot with just like you. I got a bunch of lighting going on, but like that's just one LED light that you can play with. You don't have to have a lot. You don't have to have the most expensive toys to really have a good time. And to do that with people you like working with. That's something that I feel like I got to do my entire life, like, yeah. So I would, yeah. So I would definitely say, if you want to be an AV project manager, there's lots of companies that you can get started in. If you want a degree, there's lots of different places to start. But the best thing to do is to start having your own ideas and trying to build them, because that's all we do. We're still being creative every day of new ideas, trying to do something we've done before different.
Well, I think that's awesome advice, especially for people, kids that have been stuck at home kind of with new technology. Test it out, see what kind of cool things they can come up with. Because
Yeah.
that they're everybody's brains work differently, so everybody's going to create something new and different on their
Yeah.
own. Well, I want to thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule, and I hope that our AV communication was up to your standards. Um, but I want to thank you so much, and thanks for taking time out of your day, Miss Annie.
Oh, for you, no problem. Happy to.